but keep our land glorious. Oh, can
And of course, what do you expect an ostrich killer to receive at the Grey Cup game except booze and denunciations? When we come back, my special guest and who's been on this program so often, we're going to be talking about some exciting things for the future. Katie Pasitney, and we'll be right back.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Yes, we'll do it live. So without further ado, I want to bring Katie onto the show, as she's been here so many times in the past since April. We had our first interview. And yeah, we're going to get together in person very, very soon.
Isn't that incredible? Since April. I mean, there's not a lot of people that maybe some people are just tuning in for the first time, but this has been almost a year-long battle for saving animals that were not diseased and they were healthy. We had met in April, like you said. So, I mean, but this has been almost a year-long battle. We've went through all the seasons, all of the emotions, and now we're here. And everything we fought for is gone on our farm. But this raises a brand new commitment from our family. And that is that we're never going to allow this to happen to any farmer in Canada ever again. This will never repeat itself, this barbaric act of war that they brought onto our farm November 6th and 7th.
And we'll be discussing how you intend to make sure that never happens in a few minutes. But want to get to the breaking news here. I'm so excited. When we spoke just before the broadcast, charges have been dropped. I assume that's not just for you, but for your mom, Karen, as well.
Yeah,
that's just
it is Miracle Monday, I would say. And you got to take the miracles when they come. So let's just say more miracles, please. Yeah, my mom and I's charges have been dropped. That was Section 35, Paragraph 1 of the Animal Health Act. And we were being charged for impeding an officer to perform his duties, which we were not. We were not barricading fences. We did not lock any gates. We were simply parked in the middle of the field, carrying out a task that I have to remind you that we were emailed to do so on September 22nd by Canadian Food Inspection Agency themselves. Now, that email stated that they wanted us to continue to feed and water the animals while they prepared for their kill. And we said, of course, because maintaining that routine and that level of what they're used to while their world was going to be turned upside down was very important. So we sat out there and we said, they were trying to kick us out of the pens, and they said we weren't allowed to feed. And we said, we're staying because we were asked to feed and we're going to stay with the animals. That turned into them saying, fine, you can go feed the animals. And when we went to go feed the animals, we were arrested. Our farm truck was swarmed by a few police vehicles, and we were taken up to a command center up in a sand pit here. And then they tried to charge us. So nothing about that made sense to the world either, but I know that there was going to be a great support at the Vernon Courthouse on the 20th. So I want to thank you to anybody who had planned to go. I really want to, just send our gratitude for my mom and I and love. The support has been so unwavering, and it has been such a great get up and go. That's what gives us the energy every morning to keep fighting is everybody's loving support and prayers. So yes, today was great. It was a miracle. We woke up to that the charges are dropped. We didn't have to go get fingerprinted, and we didn't have to go to court.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Do you think this indicates in any way that maybe the establishment, and I use that term to mean the judiciary, the police, the governments, the people who made life miserable for you over the last year and very, very miserable over the last 7-8 weeks. Do you think this maybe are they saying, hold it, we're just going to look even more stupid if we go through with this kangaroo court, we go through with these entrapment charges? That's really what they were. Because they've been embarrassed, not only during the occupation of your farm, but in this slipshod, incompetent shit show, excuse my language, of an aftermath, so-called cleanup. And I'm going to show some pictures later of how clean it looks. Do you think they said, hold it, we better just stop now before we look even more stupid?
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. It wasn't one mistake, and it's not two mistakes. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, I don't think, has ever really been put under the microscope like this. They've operated with no accountability, no oversight. They don't follow their own code of conduct, their own policies. They've been caught many, many times by hundreds of people, not us, but hundreds of people that have decided to stay here and wanted to protect life. Images of them not wearing PPE, not sanitizing the trucks, putting kill pen hay down in mud for police officers to drive on. There's just, the list goes on and on. Then that ends in a barbaric shootout of our animals on November 6th and 7th, that the world woke up. And I just do not think that they anticipated that this momentum from these big, beautiful prehistoric birds with a small family in the middle of nowhere, 135 kilometers away from a major city, I don't think they anticipated that this would get to this size. Now, our international support is phenomenal. I want to thank you, everybody from across the world who continues to pour in your love and support. The ostriches became beacons of hope, and they're going to remain beacons of hope. In their brutal death, of the panic and fear and the trauma and the torment that those animals felt that night, they are going to change the world. And what I mean by that is that there's so many layers to this. How has Canadian Food Inspection Agency been able to get away with this stuff for so many decades? Who is responsible? How does this affect trade? Is this, the national security risk that Angela Rasmussen said that we are? Well, maybe we need to investigate national security, because I'm promising you that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they are the ones that are responsible for putting anybody at risk, not us. We have a lot of good momentum, but the November 6th, November 7th, the world woke up. The world woke up, and some people are just watching this for the first time. Somebody, mentions it to a neighbor. Did you know what happened in Canada about the ostriches? And then they go online, and there's some people watching that shooting for the very first time today. And they haven't had the 11 days that is today for our family to try to absorb what has happened, try to understand that trauma and how we're going to have that for the rest of our life, but actually turn it into power and empower ourselves that today, Monday, we're ready to put our armor back on, and we're ready to fight for Canada, to continue to fight for Canada.
Yes, I like that term, put your armor back on. When you told me that yesterday, I said, that's Katie. She's up and fighting again. She's in the ring. But here's the other big news today. We've been talking about this for a little while. A voice for farmers. This will be the association that you will take forth so that this doesn't happen to other farms and other farmers. So what do you see as the primary mission or objectives of this association?
Yeah. Making sure that every farm out there will have a chance to have some support, never be left alone in limbo or feeling bullied by an agency that has had no accountability, no oversight for decades. Remembering that this agency is an agency that performs its own internal investigations, performs its own audits, they are only accountable to themselves. So making sure that every farmer out there has the ability to reach out to a support network within that association, whether it be a team of some lawyers, a couple vets, people that are all willing to come and bring their professional backgrounds into one area that we can support our farmers, support our agricultural sector, and give everybody hope for a strong, independent, healthy future in Canada for our animals, for our dedicated farmers, and even all of our farmers with orchards and our food. I mean, this isn't just about our living animals, but this is about our other sustainable food. It's about I think this is going to be it's a work in progress, but our heads are back together somewhat. We have very rough days, as I was saying. The four walls of the house still seem the safest. Walking down our laneway to see those empty pens is still, we're not ready to stay down there yet. We've been there, but that's very hard. But that is giving us the strength to push forward, to fight for the rest of Canada so that we have some protection. So it's going to be we're working on it and just looking forward to establishing something that gives everybody a level of protection.
I think you were saying when we talked earlier that you think you can probably immediately begin helping somebody. Is it Summerland you're mentioning that?
Yeah, so Krayden and all of us, this is a shout out to anybody watching. If you're near Summerland and you have the ability to go and show us some support, I don't know what kind, of support, but even if it's just writing letters right now, you could probably start writing letters to Canadian Food Inspection Agency, start writing your letters back to Heath McDonald and start those letters again, but they're going after their peacocks now. So they went in, and I believe it was their ducks and chickens that they did end up killing. And the farmers, the Krayden Sanctuary, they decided to euthanize their own ducks and chickens because of the massacre that we had here. They were so afraid of them coming in with force and doing something even a touch as barbaric as they had done here, that they euthanized, they put down their own few animals. Now CFIA is coming back and saying that they want their peacocks, is to my understanding. Now they're saying no. Why can't these peacocks be tested? Let's test these peacocks and let's do a non-PCR test. Let's let a vet go and do the proper sample or proper test on the peacocks. And if they test negative, again, just they can monitor. But we do not need to keep killing everything. I don't know how we didn't learn from this, that killing everything is not the solution. And they're not even good at that. So, but they are a professional killing machine. And that's what they've demonstrated here is, well, not professional, but they're a killing machine. And that's what their mandate is. So they're not professional, but they kill. That's what they do. They kill, and they do not preserve, protect, or treat. They kill.
And they lie. I've heard you say they're good at two things, lying and killing.
Yeah, lying and killing. Yeah. The Canadian Animal Cruelty Agency. We've renamed them. Yeah. CACA.
Well, I wanted to share this with you. And I find this incredible because I put these up yesterday. These are the stickers we are offering for sale to viewers or anybody. All proceeds will go to Universal Ostrich Farms. All proceeds, not just profits, all proceeds. We've already had dozens of these sold today. And in fact, we're trying hard to keep up with it. And so I find it fascinating that we put the slogan on here, justice for Universal Ostriches. And that's the same word, justice, that you've chosen to replace saveourostriches.com with is justice for our ostriches. We'll talk about simpatico. I just find that incredible.
Yeah. But it is. Thank you for doing that. Again, this fight is far from over. We had our charges dropped, but we have a crime scene here. We don't just have a quarantine that they say they left it. We have a crime scene, and we're going to hold them accountable. Accountability is the war. And like I said, they waged a new war on Canada the night of November 6th and 7th, and that is a war of accountability. So we need to create the changes, and we need to rise up. Like I keep saying, rise up, Canada. This is about your future, that's your children's future, your grandchildren's future. And this is our time. This is our time. If we can't use the momentum and the beautiful bridge that the ostriches created for humanity, that to do something so good for Canada, then when are we waiting for? I mean, there's no better time than now than to unite and rise up. Use your voices. That's what they're the most afraid of, is our voices, our strength, and perseverance to bring justice and to live longer, healthier lives. That's what I keep saying. You want to scare the government? Live longer, healthier lives. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a long road, but there's a lot of healing to do, and we're going to do that together as well. We understand, we want everybody to know out there that we are grieving and we are trying to heal with you. So if anybody needs anything, we're going to try and have some resources online as well available for people around the world to reach out to. And we'll just be working on that in the next few days as well. But we do have some great momentum. Like I said, we have a huge crime scene out there that we got to get through, and a lot of healing ourselves. But today was a good day. Those charges getting dropped is a good way to start the week.
Well, wanted to show a few moments of that crime scene, and I would also compare it to a war zone. It looks like the aftermath
It was a war zone.
of war. But
This
is courtesy of Chris Dacey, who of course was there for the entire most of the occupation. I think he missed the first couple of days, but continued to file stories every day on social media. And I've got to say, Katie, if it wasn't for social media, there would have been a news blackout on the night of the massacre, because the mainstream media did not cover it until the following day. And they only covered it because of you and because of the social media people who were there covering this thing literally all night long. And I watched it all night long. I don't think I got 2 hours sleep, and I was up at 5 preparing for the morning broadcast that day. But before I did anything, I think I cried for about half an hour when I looked at the footage. Yeah. And it was so incredibly devastating and cruel.
Like even seeing those pictures right now, like that is that's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking how they left our fields. How they left them empty. There's our farm truck the day we got arrested. They left it, crime scene, they left it right in one spot. What you do, what one of those videos show is hundreds of mallard ducks landing in that hay from the kill pen that they blew open. And so those hundreds of mallard ducks now are flying in and out of our quarantine zone. What did Canadian Food Inspection Agency do about that? They didn't leave this when they took this on. They didn't leave this and quarantine it to their expectations. When they were here, they didn't quarantine it to their expectations. They left our animals out there that had been shot to death overnight for birds and anything to scavenge on. They've broke so many of their own quarantine protocols. It is not even funny. So we just have to go through that list. I mean, how about that road access up to the highway? Now, we didn't have that road access up to the highway all open, and they made a really big clear-cut road right into the quarantine, and they didn't fence it off or leave anybody here to monitor that. Now that's wide open for anybody to go into our quarantine area. So when we had that at least isolated and it was hidden with bushes and trees, they've created highway access roads right into the back of our quarantine zones. There's so many things that they've done wrong. Again, I just don't think that they ever thought that they would be put under the microscope that Canadians put them under. And I want to thank every one of you for being independent journalists in this, because it's because of every one of you that hunkered down and took pictures, that sent those images in, that have put those images all over the internet, that the world is seeing, that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency doesn't even know how to follow their own protocols.
Oh, that's so true. They broke the law consistently during the occupation with the cruelty that they meted out to these poor ostriches. They broke the law in the aftermath, in the so-called cleanup. They had RCMP officers working as farmhands, raking up with pitchforks the hay. They had bare hands, no PPE, no goggles, no protective masks that they're supposed to be wearing according to the laws in British Columbia. The Save On or Super Save group was not authorized to carry the kind of waste, animal waste, to anywhere.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yes.
Anybody want to dig into Super Save certification from Surrey? They were not certified and not allowed to be handling, unless they got some sort of hall pass from Canadian Food Inspection Agency. They were not supposed to be handling biohazardous waste, so they say. We know our animals were not virus. We know that this had nothing to do with virus. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is the virus. But let's look into Super Safe's certification, because they shouldn't have been handling it. Then the Canadian Food Inspection Agency went on mainstream media to put out a statement that they were disinfecting the trucks coming in and out. I will promise you, by more than a dozen or 24 eyewitnesses, those trucks that drove into the kill pen with those bins, loaded up all of our babies with a bobcat bucket that just showed their total disrespect to life and how they handled them. Put them in those bins, loaded those bins, those trucks left. There was no spraying down those bins. There was no spraying down those wheels. They drove right out of that kill pen, loaded up all those animals, our animals, and they hit the highway. So it's all documented, Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but it's out there. And there's no turning back. That's the one good thing about the internet, I guess. There's some stuff that gets on there, and that's really good when it lasts forever. So copies and copies have been made of so many things, I'm sure, to so many people.
Well, they have. And
yeah.
I am not buying the CFIA's news release that they deep buried 314 ostriches at an undisclosed landfill. I'm not buying that. And I'm demanding to know from the CFIA, and I sent these questions to you this morning via email, where did they go? Because as I discovered this week, I had a letter from somebody who wants to remain anonymous right now, but she's very close to the whole process. And she listed literally 10 laws, rules, and regulations the CFIA contravened in the aftermath of this operation, from overloading the trucks in an unsafe manner, and the supposed burial of these 314 ostriches. Every last ostrich body or remain had to be wrapped in a plastic bag individually, according to British Columbia law. Are they going to tell me they did that? No. Are they going to tell me that it had to be a specified landfill site that takes this kind of waste? Any landfill will not do. So I'm not buying their conclusions and their lying news releases. And every time I send these questions to CFIA, I get back their last news release. I have to say, these people are just beyond reason. Yeah. They're beyond bizarre. Yeah. They really think this is answering a question. Of course they don't, but they think nobody's noticing.
Yeah. And another question we have, if anybody ever comes forward or has any information on this, is you would notice that our animals were spray painted. Some were blue and spray painted. Some were red. And we would like to know what those spray painter markers meant, because that was not done prior. That was done after. So I would like to also put out there that John Catsimatidis from New York has offered a $50,000 reward of information leading to prosecution. So if anybody has any information that leads to prosecution of Canadian Food Inspection Agency or some of their workers, there is a $50,000 reward from John Catsimatidis. And he's, I'll put something together. It's been all in text messages as far, but he started off with an $11,000 reward. And now he's just, I mean, he's angry as well and wants an international investigation done on the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the risk that they put the world in by handling, if it was a true virulent threat, they put everybody at risk by the way they handled this. We know that this was a theatrical display of punishment for standing up for what you believe in and what you love and using your voice. You don't spend millions of dollars to protect animals to kill them. This was even the killing, and then even trapping all of our supporters out on the highway with no notice that those gunshots were going to start to ring out. And they were just off the highway from the kill pen. They were just yards away. There was bullets that were heard hitting trees. That's caught on lives. Now they never secured the perimeter. They put all of those people at risk on the highway, trapped out of their motorhomes, out of their trailers. They trapped them away from their animals and pets. Their pets were left in their motorhomes and trailers. Nobody knew how long that was going to go for. They never warned our family that the gunfire was going to start, giving us an opportunity to come in, turn on your TV, or you're going to want to pray as a family, maybe. So I was stuck out on the road, caught listening to the gunfire starting, and then it wouldn't stop, and I'm screaming, laying on the ground. And I had an RCMP officer in a vehicle behind me, I heard from witnesses, watching me lay there cry. I mean, what kind of Canada is this? But back to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, there is so much here that was done so wrong, and we're going to hold them accountable. But that's where thank you, John Katsimadidis, for standing up for life and being one of the biggest advocates for animal welfare.
Well, there's no shortage of the CFIA contravening, breaking the law. I mean, it's where do you start? Where do you start? Where do I begin? Because it's incredible how they really thought they were above the law from the first day they arrived. They contravened laws every day, and the aftermath, and Super Save trucking these ostriches. We know they had them in Surrey. Yeah. And I joined my good friend and colleague Anita Krishna the other night, Friday night. She went to the location to talk to your supporters who are on scene to see what was going on. And I joined her virtually, and we did a broadcast together. But nobody really wanted to touch that one. And I called up Super Save last week and I said, do you have dead ostriches in those bins? Neither confirmed nor denied, no comment. And they hung up on me. Which means, as a former military public affairs officer, whenever you say something like that, you might as well be saying yes. That's what that means. So,
well, so now there's concern that Super Save has a lot in their back of their property in Surrey, and it's all dirt. Well, Sunday they had an excavator and they had a packer in their back lot. And so there's reason to believe and speculation by the odor and the overwhelming smell of rot coming from the back that they may have buried some of these carcasses on their own lot at the back. And that is alarming. Yes. But, again, where do you start? How do you and then once they were done, they put their big metal bins right on top of where they had been digging. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just, I do know we just want justice, and we know that we don't want this to ever happen to anybody ever again, and have an agency that, if this was a true viral threat that was risking your family's life, our country's, country, the health and welfare and protection of all of us, we need an agency that's going to be able to handle proper outbreak response. We need an agency that's going to be able to help protect us, not destroy us. And so I believe that we need to see a completely brand new agency, new face, new platform, new vision, strengths, and proper outbreak response categorized into proper departments. There shouldn't have been a one-size-fits-all agency. Should have never happened that way. Somehow they have become that. And we need to stand up, and we're going to call on real leaders. We're seeking real leadership here. And it's time for those true leaders to stand up, rise up, and create an impact and change for Canadians in the right direction, which we haven't seen for some time now.
Well, there's a lot of things happening right now. There's a potential for the Ag Committee at the House of Commons Standing Committee on Agriculture, to convene, because they're back in Parliament now, to convene a session or two or three, and to bring in the CFIA officers, to bring in the president of the CFIA, and to ask some tough questions. And if that happens, it's because of my good friend Jerry Ritz, former Ag Minister, who was on this program some weeks ago. He's been pressuring the Conservative Party critic, to do something about this, because this has been an outrage. He was absolutely furious about what happened here. And
who couldn't be? Who couldn't be? Sorry.
Jerry introduced me to a good friend of his who is a veterinarian at the University of Guelph. And he's a specialist in criticizing the stamping out policy. And I just want to share this clip here. And this is Dr. Jeff Wilson. I sent this to you the other day, and hoping you would repost. I know you've got so much to repost, but I found this to be very hopeful, and it's incredible what he says here. This has been absolutely outrageous, and it's the aftermath. Of course, it was all about the CFIA ensuring that no tissue samples were taken, because the CFIA pulled up stakes yesterday, actually, with the RCMP and the CFIA left the farm. It's still quarantined. It looks like a disaster area, which, of course, is exactly what it is.
Totally.
But the CFIA is claiming yesterday in an article I read I think it was Cast the Net, which is a Western Canadian publication, and they actually said that everybody went through sterilization when they left the farm every day. Absolute nonsense, because all of the bystanders said there was nothing like that going on. But then they had the nerve to say that all of the ostriches have been disposed of, and they're in what they call deep burial. Sorry, when did that happen? Because we have people right now at the Surrey Super Save who say these ostriches are still there in the parking lot. So do you think they've actually disposed of these birds or not?
Well, again, so I can't know for sure. And my thing is in my role, right, as a scientist, and also as someone now leading proper outbreak response, things I say, I have to base them on evidence, right? So I have definitely heard this secondhand, right? So I don't know. I've heard it multiple times. I think to get to the bottom of this and find out where these birds are now, and document that if possible, and if legal, get samples of those birds. What they should happen with those birds at this point now is they should be subjected to a forensic autopsy, right? So they should be properly autopsied, and although they've been decomposing, there are still tests that could be done that would help to clarify whether they were shedding virus or not. It's not nearly as good as being fresh, but it's still possible. So if there's a way to do that, that would be good, actually. That would be good.
Now, Jeff, at another point in this interview, said this means the end of the CFIA. It's either going to slowly shrivel because people are going to not take it seriously anymore, or it's going to be replaced inevitably, because it looked, as he said many times, incompetent, inhumane, and inhuman. throughout
Well,
this interview.
what we're seeing now is, I mean, look at all over the news articles. We have the cattle farmers rising up. We have other sanctuaries rising up, using their voices. And this is something that no one really understood, because they come in so fast. They come in with policy. They come in with quarantine. You're put under all these regulations and you're being thrown into this fear because everything you love and your whole livelihood for some people, and these animals for some people that are their pets and have had for years. Some people, they still love their animals, but they're safe for food consumption. They come in so fast and so hot, you don't even know what's happening. And if you don't have the time to say no and just, take to the media, I guess, or really put up a fight or have the money. The only way we've been able to keep going is from amazing people who continue to pray and donate, that we're able to keep going forward legally, keeping the lights on in the house, and just keep pushing forward to protect Canada. Farmers can't do that. So the Canadian Food Inspection Agency comes in, they're killing everything. And what we're seeing is that there's no trust. So Canadian Food Inspection Agency has put Canadians at risk more today than ever, because there is no more trust between the people in Canada and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So what happens if we have a true virulent threat that comes up that we do need to handle with proper outbreak response control? We are actually going to just start to see farmers shoot, shovel, shut up, and not reach out to this agency because of the fear that if you call this agency off speculation, everything you love or everything you have will die. And we're seeing some people don't believe this, but when they're coming into some farms, they're killing all the cattle, or say the sheep, and they're killing people's domestic house pets. So if you don't think that they're going to come for your domestic house pets, you're wrong. They're already coming for people's domestic house pets. And so that eroded trust is a huge systemic failure, and it puts all Canadians at risk. So I applaud Jeff Wilson. We've talked to Jeff Wilson many times. He's on the right track, and he's very knowledgeable, and we hope to be part of that process, is establishing a proper outbreak response, establishing trust and compassion between Canadians, and the level of government that we need to use to make sure that we're protected. And this agency, a new agency, will have more accountability, it'll have oversight, and they will have to answer to a third party.
Well, Jeff has assured me he is available as a resource to you.
Yeah. Yes.
And he wants to help in whatever way he can. He is absolutely enraged and frustrated over what happened here. And he does think the stamping out policy is just insane at this point. And it's because it will literally mean the eradication, the extermination of every last living creature if it continues.
Yeah, it does not work. Stamping out sounds powerful, like I've said in the past. When you pair that with stamping out natural immunity, it doesn't sound so pretty, Canada. Stamping out natural immunity is very scary, because when you start to believe that antibodies don't exist, and you start to believe that natural immunity doesn't exist, then you lose the belief in your own body and the body of an animal, the nature that has worked its way. It's evolved. It's been okay for decades, if not hundreds and hundreds of years. And when we kill everything on a farm, you have to understand that lots of ranches have generational lineage. So they have animals that they have developed for health, strength, and for good quality of life. And now when you go in and you kill everything based off of suspicion, we are getting rid of all of our strong lineage, all of the strong animals, the older animals that have the firewall and defense system that they built with antibodies. We should be protecting all the survivors, should be going somewhere. The survivors are the ones that we breed, because their survivors have antibodies that will be given to their young, and then the young are already immune to H5N1. Now, if we would have hatched all of our, hatched eggs here, our chicks would have had antibodies for H5N1 because they were in the memory cells of the egg yolk. So our chicks would have had armor to the virus. But now you killed everything we have, and you're saying, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, it's okay. Just go repopulate. Go get some more. Just go get some more. So when we get some more and they have no immune system and they don't have the firewall that our decades-old animals were passing down through their eggs, we go through this whole process over again. And when this happens, we're putting genetic diversity and biodiversity at risk, which is actually just going to lead to a catastrophic chain of events and a failure in humanity. And we will become fully reliant on vaccinations for survival. And you might as well just cheers your glasses now and say, yep, okay, ready to take all my boosters, 13 or 14 a year, because we have no animals, we have no immune system, we have no natural immunity, no antibodies left. And it's a very serious problem. So stamping out is stamping out humanity, really.
And you said that throughout this crisis. I don't know how many times you said it on the show, and it's just incredibly true. I wrote an article recently for the Post Millennial that described the night before based on the descriptions I saw in the social media. And it talked about you. And I think the most poignant scene of that night was you on your knees in front of that fence, asking these monsters to stop. Please stop.
I can't watch. Yeah, I can't watch that.
I can't watch it anymore either. And it just breaks my heart. It broke my heart when I first saw it. But millions of people read that article. And the response from the editor tells me has been just enormous. And there a lot of people are just discovering the story. And I want to say, during the entire occupation, there was not a day, and I think I missed maybe one day where I didn't do a broadcast, but every day I did a broadcast. I did at least a segment or the entire focus on the ostrich farms. I didn't want this to go by with nobody thinking it was important anymore. And I applauded people like David Freiheit, or otherwise known as Viva Fry, for Redacted, for Rebel News, incredible coverage from Drea Humphrey and sometimes Sheila Gunn Reid. These are friends and colleagues. And I don't mind, highlighting their work. We are all in this together. But I condemn the lazy asses like Skunk on a Bunk. I won't name his program, but he lives in BC, did not do a damn story on this. You know why? Because it wasn't on CBC enough. Not enough clips on CBC to run a show. So I condemn people who ignored this story. I applaud those who did everything they possibly could to stop this massacre, to stop this slaughter. But my question for you, Katie, is you went through, it's been a year now since the outbreak last November, December. You went through all of this legal wrangling, which is exhausting for anybody who knows what a day in court feels like. You went through a 7-week occupation where your animals were mistreated. You had to watch this. You were powerless to do anything to intervene. You couldn't go past that fence. You couldn't feed these animals. You couldn't care for them. And we watched, heartbroken, thinking, God, if we could just do something to stop this. You had to endure attacks on social media from idiots and morons and layabouts who have nothing better to do than attack your character and attack the excellent job you did in defending this farm and in describing the situation. And for these people, I have nothing but rage and absolute abomination. But I don't know. You went through this. You said you've got the armor back on. How did you do it, Katie? How did you get through this? And your whole, I think you need to do this new venture for your own health and wellness, because you need something to move on to after this horrible experience. But what kept you going during the most difficult times?
God, our faith in God, that God has a plan, and we didn't know what that plan looked like. I've grown up to be one of the biggest animal advocates, and I believe very deeply in protecting the voiceless. And so that's always been in my nature. And those animals out there gave me so much momentum every day. I knew what they stood for, and I knew the beacons of hope that they were for people around the world. And I know the opportunity that we have here to do something really good for Canada. So for those reasons, it wasn't easy by any means. It's been really hard. But every day it just feels good because we're standing on the right side of history, doing something good for our children and our grandchildren and our country that deserves a win. We deserve a win. And our animals deserved a win. We didn't get that, but we do know that with their legacy, we're not going to stop. And we got our armor back on for our ostriches. And we're going to keep pushing forward until justice is served. And that justice will help protect other Canadians, farmers, our families, our future. And that just gives me so much excitement inside, honestly, to be part of something that could have a long-lasting effect for all Canadians and our families. I feel honored to be in this position that I never thought that we would be in. I had no idea it would grow to this. I had no idea that they would be murdered the way that they would be murdered.
Yes.
I didn't really even understand the UN and WEF and everything until for the last 11 months. I've been red pilled. For 11 months, I've actually learned what our country, how it operates, who affects our decisions, the unelected, governing officials, the UN and the WHO and the World Animal Health Organization. It's been a huge eye-opener, but I just know that I want to keep fighting to stand on the right side of history, and that means making Canada somewhere that we can be proud to live in again.
Well, I think God brought us together so we could fight this battle
Yeah.
as well and move on to a voice for farmers. And I'm going to do everything possible to help you with that, including fundraising. I don't mind saying that publicly. I will be very involved in this as a primary hobby. I will be helping you fundraise, and we need to raise money, folks. We need to raise money. We've been getting that out. It's going to be a major fundraising drive in the next couple of weeks, and we need your support in every way possible. And there have been reports that the CFIA is talking about the farm picking up the costs of the entire occupation. Have you? The last time we talked about this, I don't think you could confirm it, but I don't think they've denied it either.
No, we can't confirm it, so we haven't talked on it really, but that was a post that someone read somewhere. So I don't like to go down those rabbit holes until we have an email personally ourselves. So I'll answer to that is that we have not been served. We have not been given that documentation. However, would it surprise you? No. Nothing surprises me anymore. And this is one of those things that why wouldn't they? Because, their biggest word is we were non-compliant. Comply or die in Canada, everybody. Comply or die. So we were non-compliant for not killing our own animals and our own healthy animals. And that means then that we could be on the hook for all of the police costs, the fencing, the super save, the bales that I've heard from a trucker that they bought in my name. And so, so we're getting a statement on that because nobody would touch it. And a truck driver said that he heard that Katie Pasitney was ordering bedding for the ostriches. So they delivered it out here. That's again, I need a statement on that. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But guess what?
Well,
We're ready. We're ready for it. I mean,
that's right. We're gonna
they took
fundraise for the worst.
yeah, they took everything we loved. It's gone. They stripped us of everything that we've loved for 35 years. So they honestly, they got the rawest form of a family that has so much integrity and so much fight. And you just gave us time. You took away our animals and you gave us time. And I'd be scared because we're a pretty strong family.
Well, the fight continues, Katie, and
Thanks.
that's where you go next. And they will not get away with this. They
No.
the RCMP, the CFIA, the people who allowed this to happen, and the people who facilitated it, who executed it, they will not get away with this. And we're going to keep fighting. So that's why, folks, we do need your support, your financial support. The description, the information you need will be in the description. You'll continue to see fundraising drives on X and other social media platforms increasing in the next few days and weeks as we prepare for what could be a huge financial burden. But hopefully,
and it's a fight for everybody. We are still here, and I hope it speaks to something. Our animals are gone, but we're going to continue to fight for you. We're not fighting for a major win and compensation for our family. We're fighting for change. We are fighting to make everybody accountable in Canadian Food Inspection Agency. We're fighting for the people who were stuck out on the highway and witnessed what they witnessed. We're fighting for the world that had to watch that horror movie behind a screen. We are fighting for every one of you, and that's what we're going to continue to fight for. So this is about all of us, and we're okay with taking that on, and we're going to see it to the finish line. So rise up, Canada. Today was Miracle Monday, and more miracles, please, because that's what's going to take us to the finish line.
You bet. Amen to that. Yeah, Godspeed, Katie. And we'll be in touch, obviously, about a lot of things. And we've got to move fast and furious, and we're going to do that. Thank you for your time today. I know this is still a tender time for you.
Very.
It's very hard. I know. And it's funny, the last time you were on the show, you would literally an hour before heard the news that the Supreme Court had dismissed your appeal, and you knew what was coming within hours, and it came. And it shocked, I think, the world. And I'll tell you this, though, Katie. I know you've.
Sorry.
I know you've got to go, but I wanted to tell you this: the people on this broadcast who said, "I don't understand why this story is relevant to me," disappeared. Not that they weren't watching, but they got it by the end. They understood what this farm had to do with them, with their property rights, with their individual freedom, with an aggressive, abusive, ravenous Mark Carney government. I want to lay this at his feet. This is who was ultimately responsible for this disaster, Prime Minister Mark Carney. And he needs to be, as well, part of this process. Yeah. So I can tell you, people, if we did anything, Katie, we made people realize that this was not just your fight or your farm's fight. It was Canada's fight, which I said when we first talked in April, that was in the first interview. This is not just about me or my family or my farm. This is about all Canadians in freedom in Canada. And I think by the end of it, it happened in a horrible way. But they finally, everybody realized that, this is the way Canada is today.
They exposed themselves.
We have to change it. Yes.
Yeah, November 6th and 7th, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and government officials exposed themselves. You exposed yourselves, and you showed that you're the belly of the beast, and you kept going. You know, there was so many moments it could have stopped. And it was a theatrical display of punishment is what happened in Edgewood, British Columbia. This was a theatrical display of punishment for standing up for what you believe in and using your voice. And this will never happen anywhere again. I will fight my whole life to make sure that this never happens again to anybody else, and no other animal goes through the torture and the torment that our animals went through when we spent decades teaching our animals to trust humans.
Katie, thank you so much for your time today. We'll
Thank
be
you,
in
everybody.
touch, obviously, and God
Sounds
bless,
good.
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
And the fight,
Thank you,
the fight
everybody.
continues.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
That, of course, was Katie Pasitney, a good friend, and someone I've really grown to appreciate so much throughout this. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for watching earlier. The fight continues, as Katie said. We'll be back again tomorrow with another broadcast. Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I'm going to keep this station on the air. I am going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth. And I am damn determined to resist this Carney government in any way possible as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. I'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 10 a.m. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.